Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on back. In this one today, we're going to be ranking every perk in Black Ops 4 Zombies. Coming into our number 18 spot as the worst perk in Black Ops 4, this is going to Death Perception. Now, I recently did a video about Black Ops Cold War's version of Death Perception, and Black Ops Cold War made this perk really useful by allowing you to pick up more salvage. In Black Ops 4, all this perk does is make it to where you can see through walls, which, unless you're completely new to video games, is going to be useless. If you put it in the modifier slot, you can deal a bit more damage to mini bosses, but that little boost is very niche and won't be useful for the majority of the game. Overall, a horrible perk that is completely useless unless you just started playing video games yesterday and you needed a little bit of help when it comes to navigating the map. Moving into our number 17 spot, we have Blaze Phase. This is another beyond awful perk. All it does is make it to where you can dash while crouched, which makes you move really fast in one direction and also kill some zombies in the process. The problem with this perk is that it's very hard to control and use in the first place because you have to be crouched for a period of time before it activates, and when it does activate, you can't really control the direction in which you want to go. The modifier doesn't really add anything interesting either to this perk. It does deal a lot of damage, but it's never practical to use. Next up, at our number 16 spot, we have Zomshell. Again, for the third time, a really bad, awful perk. The best way that I could describe this perk is being a really scuffed version of Vulture's Aid from Black Ops 2. The normal effect of this perk leaves a contamination field that makes these zombies slower and more susceptible to taking damage. The modifier allows you to stand in this field, giving you a zombie blood-like effect similar to Vulture's Aid. What I don't like about this perk is that the cooldown for this ability takes way too long and it doesn't last long when it finally does happen, and the perk is way too expensive. On launch, they gave it a ridiculous price. I think it was originally 7,000 points on the modifier slot, and it isn't much better now. Now the modifier costs 5,500 points, which is still way too much. On paper, it sounds cool, but when you use it in-game, it isn't that good. Now, moving into our number 15 spot, we have Electric Burst. It's pretty much Electric Cherry with a small bonus once you put it on the modifier slot, which allows you to transfer the Electric Burst from reloading into your knife attack. It doesn't help out all too much, and in Black Ops 4, you don't use your weapon all too much either, so having a perk that is based around the base guns isn't really going to be all too helpful. It's an alright perk, and is definitely much more reliable than the other three that we discussed so far, but it isn't that good in comparison to the other perks that this game has to offer. Coming into our number 14 spot, we have Deadshot Dealer. As a base perk, this is one of the worst in the entire game. All it does is make it to where your crosshairs tighten up a bit, and every time you aim down sights at a zombie, it will automatically lock onto the zombie's head. Now, with the modifier, this perk actually becomes pretty good. When dealing consistent headshots, you actually get a damage bonus, which greatly increases the firepower of your gun. It's a great change to Deadshot because for the longest time, it wasn't that good of a perk, but now it's much better. Still not good in comparison to a lot of the other perks in this game, but solid nonetheless. Moving into our number 13 spot, we have Meal Kick. This perk is very similar to Deadshot, where the base ability isn't that good, but once put on the modifier slot, it gets a lot better. The base version of Meal Kick makes it to where you can hold 3 weapons. What I like the most about this version in comparison to the other previous versions of Meal Kick is that you get an indicator for which gun is your Meal Kick weapon, which is really useful. And once you place this perk on the modifier slot, you get to keep that weapon after downing, which does make it somewhat useful. The big problem with this perk is that you don't need that many guns in Black Ops 4, and having the ability to use that third weapon is going to cost a ton of points because you have to pack a punch it 4 times, and you have to actually buy the weapon and the perk, which is going to cost you way too many points in in the long run. Black Ops 4's version of Mule Kick is a step up from the previous games, but it still doesn't compete with some of the other perks. Next up, at our number 12 spot, we have Bloodwolves Bites. Now, as a perk concept, I really love this perk. The ability to summon in an AI ally is a really cool idea, but it wasn't executed very well. You have no control of when Luna spawns, which can be really annoying because she'll end the round when you don't want her to. She'll even kill the zombies that you don't want her to kill. Now, there is a high round strategy with this perk where you can rack up a ton of ammo for high rounds, but overall, this perk doesn't offer all too much to the player and can sometimes be a detriment. Now, coming into our number 11 spot, we have Ethereal Razor. This perk on paper sounds really good, and in certain situations, it is a really good perk to use. All it does is increase your melee attack damage, and when put on the modifier slot, it can increase your attack damage even further, and you also can hit multiple zombies with one melee swing. On Alpha Omega, there's a high round strategy that utilizes this perk, but outside of that map, I don't see it being all that useful. These zombies attack way too fast in the higher rounds, and this perk is also really expensive. So for all those reasons, I can't put it higher on the list. Coming into our number 10 spot, we have Secret Sauce. Now, I wasn't sure if I wanted to include this perk or not, because it technically doesn't do anything but give you a random perk that already exists in the game. It is a very useful perk in Black Ops 4 specifically, because it is the only way that you can switch your perks in-game. If you want to play a laid-back game of zombies, it can be fun to put on Secret Sauce and take that gamble with your perks, but if you want to play in a very specific way, then it's better to make the loadout beforehand. Moving into our number 9 spot, we have Stone Cold Stronghold. This is the best perk for certain types of zombie players. If you're going for super high rounds, or if you just enjoy camping, this is the best perk for you. It makes it to where while you're camping, you can deal more damage and have more health. It's very easy to activate, and it is very effective. The problem with this perk is that if you want to do the Easter egg or train the zombies, this perk will do absolutely nothing for you. Stone Cold Stronghold overall is a great perk, but only for certain types of zombie players. Next up, at our number 8 spot, we have Qrik Revive. It's a really good perk in zombies, and in Black Ops 4, they made it really useful for both co-op and solo players. The base version of the perk now does two things instead of one. In previous games, all it did for co-op zombie players was make it to where you can revive your teammates faster. In Black Ops 4, not only can you do that, but now you can regenerate your health faster. This is a really useful ability because the health regeneration speed in Black Ops 4 is really slow. The only thing I don't like too much about this perk is that the modifier isn't that great. All it does is give your teammates a speed boost for a period of time after reviving them, which isn't that useful. Overall though, the main reason that this perk is high up on the list is because of the improvement in the health regeneration speed. All the other effects of this perk serve as small bonuses that aren't too effective. Now, moving into our number 7 spot, we have Bandolier Bandit. This perk does a very simple thing, but it makes a huge difference in the game. All the perk does is give your weapons more ammo. It's incredibly helpful for a lot of the guns in this game, especially the fast shooting guns like the Micro MG or the Spitfire. Using this perk is also really helpful for high round strategies because you can hold extra ammo in the Helion Salvo as well. The only reason I can't put this perk higher up on the list is once again because the modifier isn't that great, but as a normal perk to run every game, it's a great option for all types of players. Coming into our number 6 spot, we have Time Slip. This perk on paper doesn't sound like a great perk. It makes the cooldowns for all your equipment, specialist weapons, and perks a lot faster. In any other game, this perk wouldn't be that useful, but in Black Ops 4, this perk is really important to have. These specialist weapons in this game are super overpowered and are the main driving factor for high round gameplay. Same goes for the Wraithfire grenades. Having a perk that allows you to use those projectiles more frequently is really good. I can't put it higher on the list because there are just much better perks in my opinion, but Time Slip is definitely a must-have perk for the majority of games, especially when put in the modifier slot. Moving into our top 5, at our number 5 spot we have Stamina Up. This perk in every other game was always seen as a middle ground perk, never too great, but not bad either. When this perk is put into the modifier slot in Black Ops 4, it makes you move ridiculously fast, and with the katana out, you can sprint across any of the maps in Black Ops 4 in seconds. When it comes to doing Easter eggs, this is a must-have perk. Now, if you want to camp or go for high rounds, this perk won't be the most effective perk because the zombies will eventually move faster than you in Black Ops 4, and there are just better options to run in game if you're going for high rounds or if you just want to camp. But for any other scenario, like for doing Easter eggs, I believe this is one of the best perks that you can use. Next up, at our number 4 spot, we have Victorious Tortoise. This perk is similar to Time Slip, where on paper it doesn't sound that useful, especially if you were to place it in any other Treyarch Zombies game, but in Black Ops 4, this perk is amazing. It allows you to use your shield in all directions once it's out, and the reason that this is so good is because the shield in Black Ops 4 is vital regardless of what you're doing in game. If you're doing the Easter eggs, especially on a map like Blood of the Dead, this is a must-have perk. High rounds on Classified require the use of this perk as well. The only reason I can't put it higher on the list is because the modifier isn't that great, and there are just much better options to run for perks. Overall though, Victorious Tortoise is a great perk that provides a lot of value in any situation. Now moving into our number 3 spot, we have PhD Slider. The only reason that this perk is this high up on the list is because of one weapon, and that is the Helion Salvo. Being able to take no explosive damage with an explosive weapon that does infinite damage is completely broken. It doesn't matter if you're doing the Easter egg or going for high rounds, the Helion Salvo is a must-have, and pairing it with this perk makes for a great weapon combo. The only reason I didn't put it higher up on this list, however, is because without the Helion Salvo, this perk is completely useless. There aren't any other explosive weapons that stand out in Black Ops 4, and the usefulness of PhD relies on the effectiveness of explosive weapons, so for that reason alone, I had to put this perk at the number 3 spot. Coming into our number 2 spot, we have Dying Wish. This perk is the jug replacement for Black Ops 4, and while it doesn't give you more health, it does something else that is really unique. Whenever you get hit 4 times in a normal game of Black Ops 4, instead of downing like how you would normally, you instead get put into a rage mode that makes you invincible for a period of time. You also deal more damage in this mode, which is incredibly helpful. It's pretty much a scuffed version of a self-revive, but it's still really effective. With the modifier on, it makes it to where you can instantly regain all your health back after leaving the rage mode, which is all around a great modifier to have. Overall, Dying Wish is a phenomenal perk, and the only reason I didn't put it higher up at the number 1 spot is because there's one more perk that is incredibly underrated that I think is better. And with our number 1 spot, we have Winter's Wail. When this perk originally came out, it was considered one of the worst perks in the entire game. You had no control of when the ice charges would go off, making it super unreliable. But then they eventually patched it to where you have to get hit a certain number of times before the perk activates, and that one simple change made it the best perk in all of Black Ops 4 Zombies. When put on the modifier slot, you get an extra charge and a field that goes around you that slows all the zombies. This is the best perk in Black Ops 4 and one of the best defensive perks in all of Call of Duty Zombies. With the removal of Jug in Black Ops 4, Winter's Wail serves as a great substitute for keeping you safe regardless of what you're doing in game, whether it be going for high rounds or doing the Easter egg. This perk, in my opinion, is a must-have and is deserving of the number 1 spot. Anyways guys, it's going to wrap up the video for today. If you did enjoy, leave a like, subscribe, do all that. Leave your comments down below if you want to see me do any other type of content. Check down the description as well for more zombie related videos. And yeah, I got nothing much else to say, so peace.